This is the IS60 ARGB from ID Cooling. This cooler recently caught my attention on Amazon because of its look and price. With a very competitive price tag, you get 2 fans on one cooler, and a 120mm fan has addressable RGB. I think it is very similar to the OpenFOAM Black Ridge, which is a more expensive, low-profile cooler, as we can also add a 120mm fan on top. So, today we will take a closer look at this cooler and compare it with the Black Ridge to see how well it can perform. Despite being listed on Amazon store page to be a 60mm tall cooler, the correct measurement is 64mm. The thickness of the 120mm fan is 15mm, meaning if we take it off, the cooler height will be around 49mm. However, we can further cut down the height by an extra 1mm by unscrewing the fan bracket. Without the top slim RGB fan, this is actually a low-profile 48mm cooler with a 92mm fan just like the Black Ridge. They both have 6 heat pipes. We can see that the IS60 is smaller than the Black Ridge, but it has a thicker heatsink, so there is some trade-off between these two. When I look at this fan, it reminds me of the Black Ridge's stock fan. They both have the same look except the stickers. Reading the specs on Amazon's page, this fan's speed range is between 600 to 2500 RPM, and I can confirm that the information is correct, while the Black Ridge's is 800 to 2800 RPM. Still, I can't help but feel like they were made by the same manufacturer due to the similar design. You can keep the top fan, but it is highly recommended to swap out this fan with a Noctua one. The top 120mm fan is secured to the bracket by using screws instead of 2 fan clips like the Black Ridge, and this makes installation a bit easier. In the box, we can find screws plus the Intel and AM4 mountings for a cooler. One problem I had with the Black Ridge was the screw mount was too short for AM4, which bends the motherboard. To mitigate the issue, I had to use a Noctua backplate for L9A cooler when I installed. But for this cooler, holy shit! The AM4 mounting is a piece of garbage. I don't know what AM4 motherboard did a test with the cooler to pass the QA, but how can this thing be acceptable? I added 3 AM4 washers to each corner. You can see that on the left is with the washer mod. It could improve a bit, but there is still a big gap between the leg and the motherboard. The right side is without any washers and it is completely unusable. I double checked the box to see if I missed any accessories, but nope. It were the so-called engineers at ID Cooling decided to give us a flat AM4 mounting. Take a look at the Black Ridge. OpenFOAM already made it curvy and we still have the problem with the cooler. By the way, I did try to see if I can use the Black Ridge's brackets for the IS60. Unfortunately, the mounting holes don't line up. I could only add 3 washers because that is the limit of the length of the screws, but I think it is possible to add more washers and use longer screws to improve. Even if the brackets are raised above the cold plate surface, it is still fine because they won't touch the heat spreader of the Ryzen CPU. At least for my board it's like that. I am not sure about the others, so take my words with a grain of salt. And thanks to these stupid brackets, I also added some washers to the Black Ridge to fix the issue. I am not sure if this is an exclusive problem with the Strix boards, so if you use an IS60 EVO with your Ryzen system without any problem, please let me know. But the problem was not over. I tried to spin the 92mm fans and its place got blocked by the heatsink. I thought that I screwed the fan too tight, but nope, it was caused by the fan blades pointing out as you can see from this angle. At this point, I grabbed another Noctua NF89x14 and replaced this shit, and the problem was solved. This garbage fan could be the reason why OpenFOAM installed its exhaust configuration to avoid the same problem. Back to the 2 coolers. If I mount the coolers with the heat pipes pointing toward the PCIe slot, the IS60 EVO extends outwards over the I/O shroud, so there is no limitation to what RAM we can use with this cooler. For the Black Ridge, it overhangs the RAM, so we are limited to LPX and VLP memory. For testing, I will use the case-by-case design MI6. The case can take coolers up to 66mm of height. I also have a 92mm intake fan installed at the bottom, but I won't run it so that it would not affect the performance of the coolers. For noise normalized test, at 40dB, the Black Ridge with 2 Noctua fans were set to run at 60%. The average temperature is 83.9 and max is 85 degrees. For the IS60, the fan speed was set to 66%, average temperature is 84.6 and the max is 85.6 degrees Celsius. And here are the noise and temperature when the fans were allowed to run without any limitation. I think both of these coolers are very good performers, so the question is, which one should you pick? I think you can't go wrong with any of these in terms of performance. If you have a tight budget, then go with the IS60. Even if you add the cost of a Noctua NF-A 9x14 fan, the total should still be lower than the Black Ridge. With the Black Ridge, we have an additional option of using VLP memory to install a slim 120mm fan underneath the heatsink. I already covered this topic in my previous video, and that is a very powerful setup for cases which can only support 50mm coolers and below. Be aware that both of these coolers have issue with the AM4 brackets, and it is more serious with the IS60. Also, make sure that you toss away the stock 92mm fan in both coolers and replace it with a Noctua one. That's it for today's video. If you need to purchase parts which I showed, please check out the links in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.